In today's video, we'll be looking at how to make the selection out of a sky in an image in Affinity. So we'll begin with a very simple sky selection in a very simple image, all the way to the complicated sky selection in a complicated image. So in order to find out how to easily make selection of the sky in complicated images, stay tuned until the end of the video. And in addition to that, if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please hit the subscribe button for more tips and tricks related to Affinity. And if you want to follow along with this video, please find the link for the image in the description in order to follow along with this tutorial. So now with that said, let's start the video. So now you can see that we have an image of a cityscape here. So now let's make the selection of the sky in this image. So in order to make the selection of the sky, what we will do is we will simply navigate on the left to the toolbar and select this particular tool right here. And after selecting this particular tool, by the way, in order to get different categories, what you can do is simply click and hold your mouse and different categories of that tool will pop out like so. And now we'll select Flood Select tool. You can also use the Selection Brush tool. However, Flood Select tool is much more quicker and easy way to make the selection of this sky in this image. So let's make the selection. So I'll click here. So now you can see that when I click here, nothing happens. That's because we also need to make the selection, or we need to select the cityscape layer in our layers panel. So after selecting the cityscape layer, now let's go ahead and click on sky. And as soon as we click on the sky, now you can see that our sky has been selected. However, there are a few errors in our selection. So the errors is, if you look here, then the extra areas of the buildings are also being selected. That is, our selection has trespassed inside the buildings as well, which we do not want. So what we will do now is we'll simply deselect our selection first, and I will deselect it by using the shortcut key of Command D as I'm using Mac. And if you're using a Windows, you can use the shortcut key of Control D. And after it is being deselected, now let's decrease the tolerance value in order to fix or solve this issue of selection trespassing. So I'll keep the value of tolerance somewhere at 18% for now. And after setting the value to 18%, what I'll be doing is now I'll similarly click on the sky to make the selection. And now you can see that our selection has been made. Now after making the selection, there are still some areas in the selection that we need to fine tune. So if we zoom in, so I'll zoom in by using the shortcut key of Command and plus. And if you're using Windows, you can zoom in by using the shortcut key of Control and plus. You can see that there are few areas here that are still missing, or the selection are trespassing inside of the building. So in order to fix that, let's navigate to this particular tool right here by simply clicking and holding it. And you can see that we have a tool called Freehand Selection Tool. So select the Freehand Selection Tool and make sure that the type is selected as polygonal and the mode is selected as subtract. And after selecting those type and mode, now what we need to do is we need to simply click and simply drag and then exclude or fix that portion that has been selected extra inside of the building. So we'll simply click, and then simply make the selection or opt out that portion like so. Now after we have fixed that area, let's fit our screen by using the shortcut key of Command 0. And if you're using Windows, you can also fit your view to the entire image by using the shortcut key of Control plus 0. And after you have your overall view of the image, now let's apply a mask in this image. So to apply the mask in this image, we'll be navigating to the right below the layers panel and clicking on this particular icon of mask layer in our layers panel. However, the issue right now is it has masked out the wrong thing in our image, which is the buildings. So in order to bring back the buildings, first of all, let's deselect our selection by using the shortcut key of Command D or Control D. And after deselecting our selection, make sure that you have selected your mask here. And after selecting your mask, use the shortcut key of Command I as I'm using Mac. And if you're using Windows, you can use the shortcut key of Control plus I in order to invert your mask. And now you can see that we have successfully selected our cityscapes. by masking out the sky. So in order to proceed with this composition further, what we can do is we can even bring the skies from other images inside of this project. So in order to do that, let's navigate up to our file menu item, navigate below to place and select place, and then I'll bring in this particular image inside of our composition right now. So I'll click anywhere on the canvas to bring in the image. So you can see here that we have our image already placed inside of our canvas. So I'll resize it like so, and I'll move the image a bit below to only view the skies at its utmost dimension. And after viewing the skies, now we can simply click and drag the sky layer below the cityscape layer in order to place the sky behind our cityscapes. So we have successfully added the sky behind our cityscapes. However, the problem right now is the color tones of our image from the previous image where we have cut out the selection of the sky is different from the color tone of the image in which we have brought the new sky from. So now what we need to do is we can simply select the cityscape layer, and after selecting the cityscape layer, we can click on this particular adjustment layer icon and then simply scroll below and select or add a new adjustment layer called curves. And after adding the new adjustment layer called curves, what we can do is we can adjust the curve values in order to fix the skin tones of the buildings or to fix the color tones of the buildings. So to fix the color tones of the buildings, I'll simply click on the master box right here and then select red. So the opposite of red is cyan. So we'll simply decrease the axis below like so. And now you can see that slowly our buildings is starting to match the color tones of the sky image that we have brought or placed inside of the image after we have made the selection out of the skies. So now after we are satisfied by applying the curve, we'll simply close the curve in order to commit. Now you can see that our image is looking much more natural and the color tones of the overall image is also looking consistent. So the next thing we can do is we can also click the curves adjustment layer that we have recently added and drag it inside the cityscape layer like so. So what this does is it will create a clipping mask out of this layer, which is the curves adjustment layer that we have recently added, so that it will only be limited inside of the building's image instead of the new sky image that we have added later. So simply we can further adjust the curves adjustment layer by clicking on the thumbnail of the curves adjustment and then again selecting the reds here and then simply adjusting it like so further. So I'll leave the point as it is and close the curves box in order to comment. So in this way you can make the composition of your overall image by cutting out or making the selection of simple skies. But what about skies that has a complicated objects inside of that image? So now for that, let's move on to our next document. So this is the document, and now in this image you can see that we have complex, intricate details of leaves and trees that are hindering the view of the sky. So in order to get rid of the sky, instead of directly making the selection by using any of the tools which might take more time or cause an error in the selection process, we will use a different approach. So in order to show you that approach, first of all, select the tree branch layer, which is this layer, and navigate up to our blend options icon, which is this particular cog icon inside of our layers panel. So after clicking on the blend options icon, now you can see that a new blend options box has popped up, and in order to get rid of the selection or in order to get rid of the blue skies, what we can do is we can simply first of all change the channel to blue. So you can see that I have already selected blue. However, as soon as you open the blend options box, you can see that by default it is selected to master. Change the channel to blue color, and after changing the channel to blue color, now it will target the blues or the skies in the case of our image. So now in the source layer ranges, simply click on this point and drag it all the way below. And now you can see the magic that all the skies has been made transparent easily and only the details of trees and leaves have been retained. So this is how you can easily make selection and get rid of the skies from complicated images that has complicated elements like trees and branches. So after this, we can simply close the blend options box in order to commit. And similarly, we can again go to File menu item, navigate below and select place. And after selecting place, we can simply click on this particular image and bring in the same sky image inside of this image as well. So I'll simply click here and place that particular image. However, the issue right now is our image is really big in dimension. So I'll simply decrease its size all the way down by clicking and adjusting the anchor points like so. So I think it will be fine somewhere at here. So I'll simply click the tree branch and bring it to the top. And now I'll use the shortcut key of Command 0. And if you're using Windows, you can use the shortcut key of Control 0. And now you can see that the newly placed sky is looking much more well blended with the trees element from the image where we have cut out the sky. However, there is one issue with this particular approach. So for that, first of all, let's zoom in. So you can see that there are few areas where the details of the trees has also been affected. So in order to bring those details back, what we can do is simply click on this tree branch layer and then first of all make a copy by using the shortcut key of Command J or Control J if you're using Windows. And next, we'll simply again go to the blend options icon right here. And now we'll reset the axis of the source layer ranges by simply clicking on this particular button of reset in order to bring our image to its original state. And now we'll close the blend options box in order to commit. So the next thing that we'll be doing is we'll simply add a mask or the negative mask inside of this image. And in order to do that, we'll simply navigate below and click on this layer mask icon below the layers panel in order to mask out that tree branch image. And now you can see that a new layer mask has been added. And after adding a new layer mask, we'll simply invert that layer mask. And to invert the layer mask, we'll hold down or use the shortcut key of Command I. And if you are using Windows, you can use the shortcut key of Control I. And now we'll be selecting a brush and let's change the style of the brush to a soft round brush first of all. So I'll change the style of the brush to soft round brush. So I'll select this one, which is round soft brush. It's the same thing. So the next thing that we need to take care of is the foreground color should be white. So in order to make that white, we can use the shortcut key of X in order to toggle the foreground color to white. Now let's paint in the mask in order to bring those details back. So we'll simply paint in like so. And you can see that much of the details will be back. So we can simply paint in order to bring those tiny details back. So what happens is the trees is taking the color of the sky as well in our case. So that is the reason why few details of the trees are missing. So we can simply paint in those areas in order to bring those details back like so. We can also hold down the shift key and then paint in like so. In order to fix those areas, you can simply paint around like this at the trees and bring the entire details back. So what we can do is in order to make our painting process fast, we can hold down the shift key and then simply click on the end point in order to apply the brush. So I'll undo it here because most of the other areas of the sky are also visible. So I'll decrease the size of the brush and simply click here and hold down the shift key and then click the other point, click on the next point and click on the next point like so. Click on this point, hold down the shift key, click on the other point, click on the end point, click on the end point like so. And similarly, I'll simply click on the end point like so in order to bring things back. So I'll again undo and adjust the size of the brush and brush the branches back further like so. And here as well, let us brush over and let's increase the size again of the brush and then click here, and by holding down the shift key, we'll simply click at the end of the point like so in order to bring the details back. So let us brush over here as well. Let us brush over other branches as well like so. And let us decrease the brush size again and then apply the brush over these branch as well like so. And now you can see that most of the details have been recovered from the trees. So the next thing that we can do is we can simply select the tree branch layer and again hold down the shift key and select the other tree branch layer and group them together like so. So this is the before and this is the after. So this is how we can make a selection of the sky from a complicated images. For example, an image like which has complicated tree branches inside of it. So now let's move on to our next image. So this image is also pretty simple and straightforward. And in order to get rid of the sky by selecting it or by using the blend options, all we can do is simply click on the tree layers right here and then navigate up and select on the blend options cog icon right here. And similarly, we can again set the value of the color channel to blue and then click on this endpoint and simply drag it below like so. And in this way, you can see that the entire sky has been made transparent or opted out from this image. So you can use this technique of blend options easily in order to make the selection out of the skies from any image easily. So now let's move on to our next image in the next document and let's see what if the tree branches are much more intricate and complicated. So in that scenario as well, we can use this particular technique. So simply select the complex trees layer, and after selecting the complex trees layer, simply navigate up and select blend options, and then make sure that your channel or the color channel is set to blue. And after that, in the source layers ranges, simply click on the endpoint and then simply drag it down below like so. And in this way, we have successfully gotten rid of the skies. And now similarly to the example of image 2, we can bring in any other skies from other images and place it behind the tree. So until now, I hope you get the idea and concept of how we can make selection of the skies in any complicated images inside of Affinity. So if you find this video helpful, please click on the like button, and for more tips and tricks related to Affinity, hit the subscribe button. Thank you for watching this video and see you on the next video.